record. We are recording.
Hey, Bret, how are you?
Hey, Pastor Graham, I'm doing great.
Awesome. You're there in eastern Pennsylvania. What's the weather like out there?
It is high 20s and very cloudy. We get a lot of cloudy days here in Pennsylvania, and we've had a cold snap. So we have a little bit of snow on the ground from this past weekend, and might be getting more this weekend.
So we're complaining today here in Burlingame. I think it's like 50 and raining. So, we have nothing to complain about. So
yeah, that's like a good April day for us.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so you are a PhD student in educational psychology and educational technology, studying how and why people use social media.
Yes.
So social media is this phone, social media is this thing we're using now, social media is Facebook, all that stuff. So talk to us about how you're working, what your research is teaching you, especially teach me something, which won't be hard because I know nothing about it. About technology and how it connects today.
Sure. So my research particularly focuses on the needs of teachers and how social media can support teachers' professional learning. And there are a whole bunch of things that teachers potentially go to social media for. So all the way from pre-service teachers who are undergraduate students trying to develop their identities as professionals. Which is a big shift from an undergraduate to being a professional educator. There's the onboarding process of actually moving to a school and a district and finding your place that can be supported. There's just the day in, day out, looking for content for your next lesson plan. And then finally, there's just ongoing professional development. It's pretty well documented that a lot of teachers are not finding what they would like in terms of their ongoing professional development from their local school or local school.
Nice. Well, so talk about, so we are a learning community at our church, and any church is. Talk about learning and social media and your understanding of how the way we are learning is changing and how that is related to community in 5 words or less. No, I'm just kidding.
5 words. I can't say anything.
No, I'm just, me neither.
So one thing that's helped me in the last few months is that there are these 2 metaphors for learning that educational researchers have been arguing about, at least for the last 20 years. But it's an old idea, and is learning the acquisition of new knowledge. So it's sort of a downloading process. You just go and get whatever information or content that's out there. Or is learning actually joining and participating and being part of a community? And I think that tension, educational researchers, I think, are trying to say that both are necessary. But living in that tension, I think, is really instructive for us.
So that's interesting because we have a lot of people who watch us online every week in our Facebook video feed. And so the question might become like, is that community or is that not? And how do you create community? I think that's the big question for me as a pastor and, as a Christian, how do we create community in this strange new world of social media?
Yeah, so another metaphor that I've come across is from a guy named Etienne Wenger. He developed an idea called communities of practice. And it's this idea that there are all kinds of communities out there, but one of the most powerful, particularly for the sake of learning, and I would say in this case, for the sake of discipleship, is to have a practice that's at your core and letting community flow out of that shared practice. And one of the dimensions that Wenger talks about a lot is this idea of mutual engagement. And I think that metaphor is really powerful.
That's cool. So it's not just a one-way communication. It's a dual. It's both directions.
Yes. Yeah. And I think both words in there are really really instructive. So like you picked up on, mutual is key. So I think if communication is one directional, even if you're all sitting in the pews at church, if you're just listening to this video, if you're just listening to a sermon and that's it, I don't think that's enough for learning or discipleship. I think there needs to be some wrestling with things. It needs to go both ways. And so that idea of mutual is really important. And then I, I've also been part of a number of communities where there's mutual communication, and it's pretty hollow.
I think that's what it is to be a parent. That's how I feel with my kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think back a few years ago, I was directing, a national ministry and building online communities and thinking about how we use social media to support communities. And there's a guy on my team, 22, brilliant in thinking about this kind of stuff. And his quick take was, we're kind of looking at why do we keep having so many problems, both as a national organization and within our team with these communities. And he's like, they're just doing it wrong.
Wow.
And I think there's a lot to unpack there. So it's not like doing it wrong in terms of, they don't know how to write a tweet or get connected on a video call or something. It's I think it's key in that engagement term. It's we let our agendas shape what we do. So even if it's mutual, even if it's back and forth, we say, I have a selfish reason why I'm here, and I'm going to get what I need out of this. And so it's not engagement in that kind of way. It's not caring about the other person. And so I think holding those two things side by side are really important.
It's almost like saying, I don't like food, and the people, actually, it's not the food they dislike, it's the food that was prepared. But the food itself is a good thing.
Yes.
Last question. We're about to go into our sermon this morning on tech. Talk about Jesus. Talk about God. Talk about how you are a Christian, a person who cares a lot about all old, young, middle-aged, whoever, and social media. And talk about discipleship just for a brief moment, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah. So I think for me, all this research that I've done on what it means to learn and seeing the impact of social media in our lives, I think it really highlights the difference between the potential of a thing and the reality of what I do with it. So I feel like I'm more in touch with my selfishness, because I have the possibility of being connected to more people and more things to care about. I'm more aware of my, how self-centered I am, but also my limitations. And some of that's healthy, but having to wrestle through, what does it mean to actually follow Jesus when that could literally take me anywhere and could mean caring about everything. I have a couple small kids. I study a lot. I've had to really confront I can't care about everything, even though I could read about it. So in some ways, it again comes back to if really what matters is these places where there's mutual engagement, how do I give myself fully there and not just download information from everywhere? And I think that's a decision I have to make.
So what I hear you saying is it can make your world smaller, technology, or it can make it too big to even wrap your brain around.
Yes,
and neither one is necessarily good, but we have to deal with it.
Yes. Yep. Awesome. Yeah. They're decisions we all have to make every day. And I think that's the journey of discipleship, is making those decisions. And to go back to the earlier idea, if I'm part of a community that is trying to make similar decisions together, I think that's the only way it works.
Yeah. Very cool. Bless you, Bret. Thank you for all you do. Will you come out to California and visit us sometime?
I would love to. I'll let you know next time I'm out. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you. God bless.